Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the PG Show, where we talk about all things college football. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about playoff expansion and the news that was recently announced today about the Rose Bowl informing the college football playoffs that they've agreed to the new contract. But before we get into it, please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments below. What do you guys think about playoff expansion? And do you guys agree that 12 teams is the right number? So, earlier tonight, the Rose Bowl has informed the College Football Playoff Committee, or the College Football Playoff, that it has agreed to amend its contract to allow for the College Football Playoff to expand to 12 teams in time for the 2024 season. Now, there were some rumblings about how if the Rose Bowl did not want to amend its contract, they were pretty much going to leave them out of the playoff scenario over the next 2 years. And this is going to be very interesting because, especially in a year like this year, where quite honestly, the path to win a national championship is probably as wide open as it's been in the past 15 years. This is exciting news to see that this is going to be going into effect next season. Because right now, our top four consist of Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC. But right behind those top four, you have Ohio State and Alabama. Now, mind you, Alabama has 2 losses. Ohio State is not going to be able to play for a conference championship. At number 9, you have Clemson at 2 losses behind Alabama, and they could very well play for, well, there's no very well. They are playing for a conference championship, and they very well could win their conference, right? And so when we talk about the things that the committee looks for when ranking these teams and putting them in the playoffs, they're looking for the 4 best teams, right? And they do have a criteria in terms of conference championship, strength of schedule, things like that. When you look up and down the board at the teams that could possibly be competing, this is a year where, again, I make the argument that, yeah, the 4 best teams in the country are Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC. But if we're talking about the best teams in college football, I want to see Florida State have a chance to compete in a 12-team playoff. I think they're that good. I want to see Tulane make it in there as the highest-ranked group of 5 team at number 18. I want to see a Notre Dame team that's hot here at the end of the season go into the playoffs and see what they could do in the first year of Marcus Freeman. There's things like that that intrigue us that could make the playoffs more interesting and potentially cause more upsets, especially when the field is wide open. Everybody is talking about the scenario of TCU and USC losing, Ohio State and Alabama going up. Okay, I see that scenario, but is Ohio State and Alabama really worthy of making it to the playoffs? Really? What if Georgia loses a game to LSU? Does Georgia deserve to be in as a top 4 team? Well, in a 12-team playoff, that scenario and that question is answered because, well, it's 12 teams. Georgia's number 1. If they lose a game, they're still in it. They don't get home field advantage, but they still have a chance. And it allows somebody else to go after that home field advantage, another conference champion. Instead of allowing 2 Big Tens and 2 SEC teams to be in this playoff battling for the title of the college football champion. Here's the other thing that I don't like about the playoffs and currently how it's constructed. There's not even representation from all the conferences. And I get it. You can't put every group of 5 team into the playoffs. But we should at least see a group of 5 team representing this, along with the 5 major Power 5 conferences. And yet we don't have that. And that's one of the things that I feel like needs to change. And one of the things I feel like we're going to get this season to change. I feel like in this 12-team format, we're going to see parity that we've never seen in terms of the college football playoffs and going to a national championship. What if in a 12-team format, a 9-3 Florida State is able to run the table and win the national championship? that completely turns around their program in the way that they're able to go out there and recruit. Because now all of a sudden recruits look at what Mike Norvell was doing out there, not saying that he hasn't done a good job. This season he has done a phenomenal job, and he is the poster child for why fans and administrations should give their coaches more time to build and develop programs than what they give them. But how fun would that be? How fun would it be to watch a Kansas State team with Will Howard as its quarterback, where we know when they have Will Howard in the game, they're the hottest team in the country, or one of the hottest teams? How fun would it be to watch that matchup against a Ohio State or an Alabama? How fun would it be to watch a Tennessee and TCU or Tennessee and USC go up against each other? Those are the matchups I want to see. I don't want to see another Ohio State-Michigan game and an Alabama-Georgia game. If I wanted to watch those, I would go watch the conference games. I want to watch these teams play each other in a playoff format where we don't normally get to see them play each other. I want to see Oklahoma be able to come into a playoff scenario and play USC. But as it's set right now, they have to be in the top 4. So one team could ruin it for the other. This is where I think the 12-team format is going to thrive. I think it's going to be able to bring in more money. And I know people say, well, you're just putting the players on the field for longer. Okay, I get that. I see what you're saying. But I can make the argument that them playing 16, 17 games with the postseason is only preparing them to go play a regular season of 17 games in the NFL. They're going to have to make that jump eventually. So why not go ahead and enable them to be able to go make that jump? And if it's really that big of a concern, can we eliminate these 3 or 4 out-of-conference games that some of these teams have to play? Let's play one out-of-conference game. If you're a Power 5 team, you have to play a Division I opponent. You can't go schedule a cupcake and an FCS opponent. And I get it, there's cupcakes in the thing, but we can try to figure that out later. But what I'm saying is you can't go schedule a high school football team as a scrimmage early in the season. And you get one out-of-conference game. You got to make it count. Because it's going to count towards getting you in the playoffs. And then you play 10 conference games. 9 or 10 conference games. And then you play the playoffs. Does that not work? If there's any college football players that listen to this podcast, I would like to hear you guys chime in the comments below. But I think the 12-team playoff format, it's going to be great for college football. It's going to be great for what we're seeing on the field from a lot of these teams, and it's going to be able to potentially keep players from opting out because now they have something they're playing for. Now this means something. Being one of those 12 teams means something. It means you have a shot. And I know people say, well, the regular season gets diminished. Well, for the people that would say that, I will say this. No, it doesn't. Because you want to, at the end of the season, be one of those final 4 teams. You want to be able to put yourself in a position to be one of those final 4 teams because you want to have a bye week. That bye week is going to be important. So, exciting news from there. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you haven't already, please go ahead, hit the like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think about the playoff expansion. It's pretty interesting.